Good afternoon, you guys. It's your boy Bill Mahari here, representing Mahari Nation Sports Podcast. Much love to the entire LDBC and the entire basketball community. If you want more basketball content, tune in to Basketball Conversations every Friday night, 9 p.m. Central Time. It's where we discuss basketball-related topics, news, debates, and everything else in the world of basketball. All right. I hope you guys been having a good weekend. We had a good Saturday of basketball and boxing at the same time, though. Too. I'm gonna drop some heat for dealing with a little bit later on in the day. But today is the birthday of Kobe Bryant. Um, Today he would have turned 42 years old, and it's still hard to believe that that he's physically not here now. And it's very eerie to think that it's been what 7 to 8 months since the tragic helicopter crash that took Kobe's life, his daughter's life, and the 8 other people that were on that helicopter in Calabasas, California. And so I saw on Instagram early this morning that you know, Vanessa, received flowers from various famous people, around the world, pretty much dedicating to him. And so, and I saw the NBA, paying their respects to Kobe Bryant too. So, I just wanted to, pretty much give my respect, to one of the greatest players in the history of NBA basketball, and certainly a Hall of Famer, and a guy that pretty much loved his life and loved his family and was going to do great things out, in the post basketball career. And unfortunately, it got taken away from him by just one stroke of faith. It's just a really eerie time. I mean, 2020 has been a very horrible year, and so R.I.P. to Kobe Bryant, GiGi, and those other people that died on that helicopter crash on January the 26th. So, with that out the way, though, too, and also R.I.P. to those people, including Kobe Bryant. With that out the way, I want to also talk about my thoughts on the Blazers and the Lakers, playoff review thus far into this series. And right now, after the victory that the Lakers had against the Blazers last night, they now lead the series 2 games to 1. I am going to give major credit to where credit is due for the Lakers. Okay, they've really done an excellent job of stepping up their defense. And entering into those playoffs, the Blazers scored at least 126 points as the highest scoring team at the 8 remaining games of that whole entire bubble. But in their first three postseason games, right now the Lakers have held to the Blazers to 98.5 points. All right, and in that game from last night, okay, Lake Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, the dynamic backcourt, combined in the first half for 39 points on 14 for 25 shooting and making 8 of their first 15 3-point attempts. They were pretty much they pretty much left out what they were doing in game 1. And you knew that that backcourt was going to be the one that's going to have to lead the way to do it. And then in the second half, the Lakers pretty much picked up the defensive intensity. They held that backcourt to at least 23 points in the second half on 6 for 20 shooting, including 1 of 8 from 3-point range. And pretty much that fourth quarter, the Lakers really did an excellent job of putting the clamps on them and not letting them get off, which really reflects me back to what I saw from the game last night. Melo was pretty much playing a good game. He played 42 minutes and he had 20 points. And he had one stretch midway through the third quarter where he scores 10 straight points and pretty much was literally the guy that kept the Blazers in the game. In the fourth quarter, they didn't go to him enough. And I was sitting there watching the whole screen. I'm thinking, like, why is CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard trying to play desperation ball? Like, get the ball inside of Carmelo Anthony, spread out the floor and force the defense to double team it. Then you can take your 3-point shots. But no, they were taking reckless threes and they pretty much allowed the Lakers to put the clamps on them. And now they've now trailed 2 games to 1 in the series. And before this series began, I pretty much said that the Lakers were going to win this series in 6. Now, the way that they did a great job of putting the defensive, job on them, it might end in 5 the way things are looking. Which leads to this, okay? The Blazers need to do a couple of things. Go inside more. Use Nurkic. Use Melo to go inside and try to spread that defense out, okay? And they really need to do a better job of shot selection. CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard can't always rely on threes. Use the mid-range game. Attack the paint. Put more pressure on the Lakers defense. You know what I'm saying? And salute to Anthony Davis. He really did an excellent job of stepping up in that game too. He Scored 23 of his 29 points in the second half and collected 11 rebounds, 8 assists, and had 3 block shots. And pretty much told the LA Times in this quote here, he said, "You got to want to play defense." And everybody in our locker room has taken that challenge, especially with these two guys. We want to be a great defensive team. We don't want to rely on our offense to win games. We want to do it on the defensive end. That's kind of what happened in the second half. And definitely so. Absolutely. They did a really good job of basically limiting, uh, McCollum and Damian Lillard shots, and they really made them take tougher shots. And the Blazers did not utilize, their inside game enough, and also respect to LeBron James too. He had 38 points and had 12 rebounds. You know what I'm saying? And he pretty much did an excellent job of keeping things under control there too. He also had 8 assists and 2 steals. And so right now, as we speak at this moment, he's now second all time in career playoff wins. All right, just a little side note for that. But here's my point to this. Okay, right now, I think that the Lakers right now they're starting to really wake up and starting to fine tune what they need to do in order to get this done. All right. Now how they will do that against the LA Clippers remains to be seen because right now the Clippers are also up 2-1 and they're looking to go up 3-1 today against the Dallas Mavericks, barring what happens to Luka Doncic. All right, because there's still no reports on if he will play or not because of the high ankle sprain that he suffered in Game 3. So if the Mavericks lose their best scorer, that really is going to put a lot of pressure on Kristaps Porzingis, Trey Burke, and Tim Hardaway Jr. to really step up their offense. But besides that, I really think right now that the Lakers are starting to really figure this out right now. And if you're the Blazers right now, you really got to think to yourself, what can we do to try to generate offense? And yes, the backcourt has really produced, with the exception of Game 2, but they need to utilize their inside game more. Put the pressure on the inside interior players and get Anthony Davis in foul trouble. You know what I'm saying? When they done that, the Blazers have been successful with that. But they also need to start pushing up the tempo because scoring 98 points in the first 3 postseason games is an indication that the Lakers have done a good job of slowing the game down and making the Blazers play a half court game instead of playing this play full fast break tight tempo game that the Blazers like to play. The Lakers have done a good job of basically slowing the game down and making them run in the half court, which is not one of their best strengths. And so right now, the way that things I said right now, I think that the Lakers are in position to go up 3-1 starting tomorrow. And if they do that, it will put the Blazers in a very difficult position where they're going to have to rely on big performances by Dame Dollar and CJ McCollum to really step up to the front here. And so I think that right now, if you're a Lakers fan, you should pretty much be looking at this like we're in good shape right now because the Blazers have to catch up to us. We don't have to catch up to them. But as I always say a lot of times in sports, a wounded animal is perhaps a dangerous animal. And so if you're the Lakers, you cannot lay off this team 1 second. And my concern about the Lakers is that there are times where, the Lakers, they would have an advantage, and sometimes they lift their foot off the gas pedal a bit, and they allow teams to get basically come back and beat them. They can't do that against the Blazers. And I think based on the quotes that I've been reading, I think that they really recognize they have to take this very, very seriously and really make sure that the Blazers are put away and this time for good. And so that's what I really think about though too. And it's up to the Blazers to really make a statement in Game 4 to keep their chances alive. And so that's where I kind of stand on this whole situation. And also another thing, I wish the Blazers would have used were more patient with their pick and roll sets because the way that they run their pick and rolls and allow the double teams to come through, they're not doing a good job of swinging the ball to the open man. They always have to rely on the guards to break down the defense and take a tough contested shot. You know what I'm saying? I think they would do better if they could go inside, spread the defense out, and then basically let the double team come and then swing the ball to the open man. That's where you can get better looks from 3-point range, not just contested threes from near half court. Because it may look good when they go in, but when it comes down to playoff time, you can't rely on those kind of shots because they're the worst percentage shots you ever take in basketball. Now, yes, Damian Lillard has proven he can make those shots, but you can't rely on them on a consistent basis. So they need better movement. They need better flow of their offense and also rely on their inside game. If they can do that, they should tie up the series tomorrow. But the way I see it, I see the Lakers taking game 4 and putting the clamps down on this series. But tell me what you guys think in the comment section.